Disclaimer: the content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. And now...
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to scare anybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ben and Amy on The Heavy Truth.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome in.
Welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of The Heavy Truth.
Welcome back.
How is everybody? Ben, how are you?
I'm good, Amy. How are you?
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
Lovely. It's been a busy week.
It's been a very busy
It's been nice
couple
outside.
of weeks. Nice outside, yes.
So that's all
What's
positive.
kept you busy over the last couple of weeks, Amy? Macrame, things like that?
Work. I had a presentation that I gave at a local
Watering hole?
no.
Oh.
Although maybe some people would benefit from me talking there, but most of them probably would ignore me. But no, I did a presentation at a local
Business?
foundation. In
Foundation.
one of the
Like St.
towns.
Jude or something like that?
one of the towns nearby
Nice.
on weight management and obesity. So that was good. Nice turnout.
Mm-hmm.
Work's always busy. So
Yes.
other than that, nothing fun, actually. Nothing super fun to report. How about you?
I went to work, of course, like you said, yes. It is busy. Fun things. Let me see. Took Granny to the casino, won a little bit of money. My cousin who is expecting a baby, she had a sprinkle. So we went to that. And the difference between a sprinkle and a shower, like you and I were discussing at one time, is because she already had a boy, and so she's having another boy, people do sprinkles instead of full-on showers.
Yeah, I know. And I always
But
felt...
they were close. It wasn't like she had a boy and then like 10 years later, but like they're close, like a year and a half, something like that.
Right. And I always felt like a sprinkle didn't matter what the sex of the child was. If you had a boy or a girl in the beginning, a sprinkle is like a second shower despite the sex. And you're telling me that it's because it's a boy, it's called a sprinkle because she already has a boy.
Yes.
But then if she would be having a girl, it'd be another full-blown shower.
Right. Because
I'm like,
then people
what?
look at those. She doesn't have any of the girl clothes, girl one, things like that, even though I know they, the colors for babies are like some unisex and things like that. That's what I was told. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
I mean, it seems like you have the crib, you've got...
Well, yeah, no one was, but in a sprinkle, you don't buy big things like that. No one bought her another crib. No one bought her another stroller, things like that.
No,
right?
I know, but if you're saying, so let's say she was having a girl, right? And then it'd be a shower.
Mhm.
She's not going to need another crib and all that stuff too, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you what I was told.
right. All right. That's fine. I mean, did she get some nice things?
Yes, she did. It was more like a lot of gift cards and
Yeah.
things like that, right? 'Cause,
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to get any crap that you're going to try to return because, you
No.
don't like it, you don't like it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are some of those
Okay.
things. But yes, the weather is getting nice. So getting out, walking, doing a little bit more, right? Taking the car to the car wash, gets that salt off from for those of us who don't know, if we live in the Midwest, right? We salt our streets so they're
Like
not icy,
overly.
things like that. Mm-hmm.
It's constant. Yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't do the cars any good here.
No. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah. So I was wondering, on a daily basis, I run into the unfortunate situation where my patients will not be able to get their medications anymore.
What medications are we talking about?
So specifically, any of these anti-obesity medications that someone may be on to use as in conjunction with other things, right, to help with weight.
Mm-hmm.
And just out of the blue, the insurance, or, for me, it was a lot of come January 1, right?
Yes.
Patients that once had coverage no longer have coverage.
Hmm.
Um,
So then
and
these people run the medication and then suddenly the medication stops
right.
or becomes more expensive,
Or
which in turn would cause people to have to stop taking it or question
right.
if they can afford it.
Right. So, which I'm sure it's same with you too, is that,
Hmm.
it's really mm, you're playing, this insurance with the insurance game and them dictating, what they're going to pay. And even though someone may have had an approval for, say, up until mid next year, um, they always relook at the coverage criteria. January 1,
Yeah.
it changes, right?
Hmm.
So how have you seen a lot of that as of the new year?
I have seen a lot of that as of the new year. Insurance plans changing, specific things moving from like a tier 1 to a tier 2 or tier 3, or
And that means cost-wise, right?
cost-wise. Yeah. So I'm just going to make an example. So let's say you normally paid $25 for a medication, which they consider tier 1, right? And now it's moved to tier 3, and the medication, I've seen it where it is now from $25 to $230 or $400 or $600, right? And so their insurance is now like, well, we still cover it. It's just a different tier, right? But it's the same thing with a lot of medications, right? When you prescribe a medication, you can sometimes tier 1s are cheaper than the tier 2s, are cheaper than the tier 3s, and that's where this is falling into, that they're making these things like weight loss medications harder for people to get. Like I think it's them saying, "Oh yeah, we still provide it," but their hope is that you're not going to get it. You're not going to take it anymore. They don't have to pay out that money for it anymore. Right?
Yeah, and as hard as we try to get the word out that obesity is a chronic disease, there's still
But we
not.
don't have to get the word out. It is a chronic disease.
But I'm saying we know that, right?
Yes.
But in order for, insurance companies, the PBMs, all of the people that dictate
PBM.
Yeah,
What is a PBM?
for all the prescription coverage, right? So you have like somebody that manages prescription
Yes, pharmacy
coverages.
benefits manager.
So
I'm putting that out there for people that are out there saying PBM. What does that mean?
yeah, so they dictate what is going to be covered,
yeah.
and such. So it's not again just about the like your employer,
Right.
So there's always somebody looking, somebody watching, and somebody dictating
Somebody's watching.
what's going to be covered. So for now, not everyone sees it as a chronic disease.
Right.
So
True.
they don't discontinue other medications for other chronic diseases, but yet here we are, and so I probably, let's just say, maybe 10% of my patients that had once had coverage now, as of January 1, don't. And then in addition to that, even probably more, like you said about the tier, it's costs them more. So, people feel very hopeless when this happens.
Well, they get mad, first of all, because we're paying into, insurance isn't free. Most companies don't cover everybody's insurance, right? We're paying for that insurance. And so it's that whole like, well, what am I paying for if you're screwing me over? And that's how it's felt.
Yeah, to them.
At least that's how I would feel. I'd be like, you're screwing me over.
And why all of a sudden, even though I've had this approval to go from, for 6 to 8 months, and now you're saying no, so, and we get the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Which, of course, because we're the ones saying, oh, well, it's showing here that we need to put in, another prior auth. And then in our mind, right?
Yeah.
We know, oh, shoot, we know this is not going to go well, right? So, and I'm very forthcoming saying, listen, this is what's happening with your insurance. It's very possible they're not going to cover it anymore. And not only that, not covered anymore, of those that are being covered, I'm going on a little tangent, they're expecting people to join other programs.
Yeah, join other programs that send you scales and you weigh yourself at home. and all of this craziness. And yet then your provider can send the medication in and
Yes.
yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah. So they're paying
Yeah.
to see us. Then their employer is paying this company, to manage their patients on weight loss medications,
Well,
and
they don't provide medications.
no, but we're doing that, but
Yes.
they're still like, I feel
It's like an oxymoron. They're doing double it's crazy.
like just pay for the medication and require somebody to either be in a weight management program or a program that you are saying they need to join, right? Like,
Right.
why do we have to be in like 2 or 3 different things?
True. But oftentimes some of those programs that they want them to join don't provide medications. That's the thing.
Yes.
Or they provide a compounded medication. Again, that's the thing. So
Well, I mean, either way, back to lack of
either way,
coverage.
it's crap.
It is crap.
And you know what? Not that I'm trying to be political and pull things in. That's what happens when you then see on the news and that CEO of United Healthcare, that's what happens, right? Crazy things like that happen because people get upset about things. Not that I'm saying it's okay, I'm not, but I'm just merely pointing out,
Like
right?
lack of transparency.
Yeah, lack of
Like a lot of these
transparency.
people had no idea that they were going to lose coverage.
Right.
Right. So that's a big problem. So then they're coming into us, they're hopeless. They've done so well on X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden now it's not covered. So what do? What is it? What happens? Well, they're hopeless. Like patients, they are completely lost. I've had people break down in my office. I've had uncontrollable criers. I've had, what am I going to do?
Frustration?
Yes, anger.
Mm-hmm.
And
and not anger at us.
no,
But voicing anger to like, I don't understand why my insurance company is doing this. Like you said, what am I going to do? Fear of gaining the weight back.
Yeah, for sure. And, the thing is, the GLP-1s, which are the injectable Wegovy and Zepbound, we use those generic form, semaglutide, tirzepatide for diabetes. So that's not being discontinued.
No.
But just the indication for
And they're
obesity.
not making you go to these other programs to get your diabetic medications and then coming to see a weight loss provider.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't have to go, wear a continuous glucose monitor and go have diabetes education. They're still covering Mounjaro or Ozempic or whatever, and that's fine. But why is it, all right, well, since these are, the obesity patients, we're going to make them join a program, But in addition to that, a lot of them, if you're answering the prior authorization questions correctly, it asks, are you part of a weight management program? Now, of course, anyone that sees us, we are a designated program. So yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority probably aren't. And I know that question is on the majority.
So what you're saying is like one of their primary care providers is asking, they would check no because they're not.
They're not.
Yes.
And I think that's an automatic denial. So my thing is, what are they saying?
Yeah.
So they're not. So those individuals, they should have some extra assistance because we give that assistance, in our program.
Right.
You do, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's sad. Like it's upsetting for patients, and there's not a lot we can do because our hands are tied as well, because what is it? I mean, there's a study that I was reading, which you have a copy of it too, but part of it is anger and frustration, like you said. Almost 40%, 35% of patients, they are angry, frustrated when this is their emotional response when these medications are discontinued, and hopelessness and anxiety. That's another 35% of what people are feeling. Fear of weight regain, like you said, that's a real thing, especially if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing on the medications. Hence why, speak to me, I know you're very similar too. You have to do the work. You have to be accountable for what you're doing.
Yeah. Like we always talked about lifestyle changes because I always bring up like the topic, like we're just saying, what happens if the medication stops?
Like this.
Right? And studies have shown that 2/3 of the weight that people have lost is regained within a year if stopping the medication. I think if they're not doing the lifestyle changes, and it can't be a diet, it has to be lifestyle changes, right? Which meaning you can continue throughout your life.
Mm-hmm. What do you tell people when this happens? How do you help them work through this emotional nightmare?
Well, I've had this happen. And, first of all, when we're in the office, I ask them, well, how much of the medication do you have left? What do we have? What are we doing right now? I have them stretch the medication out a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not every 7 days. They do it every 10 while we're getting a plan in place. If
Mm-hmm.
I can, let's do an appeal. Let's do, like you said, the tier, the benefit, what did you call that?
Tier
Tier
exemption.
exemption
Yeah.
form and try a peer review. I'm also looking in the chart, which I've already had documented what they can and cannot have, what they tried, what they haven't tried. But sometimes there are a few medications, maybe they haven't tried something, right? And then we maybe add something along with it. And I just remind them that accountability factor, looking at calories, carbs, proteins, things like that. While I have them, well, they know that I'm there trying to help them. There does sometimes come a point where there's nothing I can do anymore and our hands are tied.
But that doesn't mean that they should stop seeing you,
No,
right?
no.
Yeah.
I always encourage, like, we're always here for that support. That accountability factor is what keeps us on track. And then that 2/3 of the weight lost won't be regained because we're here still looking at the calories, carbs, and proteins. Because I remind them, I have many, many, many people in my practice who are not on medication and have lost over 100 pounds and have maintained it because they have made it a lifestyle change,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's
What do you tell them?
same. But one of the biggest things I focus on from the start is that, like you said, if we're going to use, medications to assist, it's just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this conversation at first visit that, if you're not doing something, if you're not working on dietary changes and exercise and sleep improvements and stress reduction, if you're not doing all of that to start, like, we're not going to be successful,
Yeah.
because again, this is not a diet. We're
Yeah.
not, come to see me. You're not specifically, I say, you're not on Amy's fast weight loss program. I say it all the time because it's not a diet. So we have to make little changes time after time, week after week. Whenever people see me, we always have certain different goals, and they're
Yeah.
not just dietary goals. So it's something that I think I say at every visit. Again, if this isn't going to be covered, this is why we have to be doing X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not that it means that somebody's not going to freak out if this happens.
Oh, no.
But it's happening more and more, and a lot of people, most people, I couldn't afford, cash pay out of pocket, for these medications.
Mhm.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The costs will come down. We know it will, like it
And
always
it's come
does.
down a little bit, like we talked about on our
Mhm.
last show, that it has come down,
Yeah. Yeah. But it is, I think you did say this, but the percentage wise of weight regain. Now, again, I'm not really sure if this is something, I think this is just from the study or whatever that we were looking at.
Yeah.
But statistically, people can regain up to 2/3 of their,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Of
Yeah.
their lost weight. Mhm.
This one specifically said almost a little over 60%, which is almost kind of there. But again, we don't know. What were they doing? Were they doing anything? Were they being accountable, tracking their intake? As you guys all know, I require everyone to be tracking,
Same.
especially in active weight loss. If you're in maintenance, I'm a little bit more lax on
Mhm.
it, because you've done that so far, and as long as you're not gaining weight or you're not continuing to lose too much weight, I'm fine with that, right? So it's not like, I always tell people, they're like, I have to track forever, the rest of my life, and I'm like, listen, no, but you do have to check in once in a while, so you have to make
Yeah.
sure that you're still staying on track.
And especially, like you said, if it's a maintenance at that point, it's a lifestyle change, and you show that you have maintained that weight loss, that you already know your eating
Yes.
habits have changed. And don't get me wrong, you'll still, every blue moon, have that crazy day, that crazy meal, but it's not an everyday occurrence anymore.
Right. So, I think it's something we're going to see more and more of for sure,
Yes.
of, medications being discontinued, and sometimes
Why do you think that is?
cost,
Mm-hmm.
definitely,
Mm-hmm.
even there's been a couple other, hospital organizations that have dropped coverage for patients,
Yeah.
um, I won't name any names, but one did drop it and then was added back, but then said that they had to, be part of, like that. I don't even know what they're calling it, like just like a weight management program through like the
Mm-hmm.
insurance,
Mm-hmm.
so um, I don't know why that came into play. I mean, they dropped it and then all of a sudden, oh, well, now January 1st, it's like back on. So I don't know. It's all has to do with
Because
cost.
too many of your patients, you told them, go to HR and talk to them. They're like, oh, I wish they would stop coming to talk to them. I'm kidding.
I mean, great,
Mm-hmm.
right? If that's the case. But, you know, really what it is they're trying to cut costs right now without thinking of the long-term
Right.
benefits of it. Because if you reduce your employees' overall obesity percentage and all of their comorbidities have improved or gone away, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, well, they're not going to have issues that they would have had
Well,
had they not
improved, right?
lost.
They haven't gone away.
Well, right,
Yeah.
improved, right? So they may not, maybe they're just,
Diet controlled
diet control. Yep,
diabetics. And,
absolutely.
their hypertension is controlled and they're right.
Yeah, but I
Exactly.
mean, no, you can go and if you lose enough weight and your diet or your blood pressure is fine, you can be without diet or
Yeah, without medications. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're talking about
Yeah, yeah.
diabetes here because that never goes away. That's
No,
one of
no.
my big
Mm-hmm.
irritations.
Mm-hmm.
People say, "Oh, I have no longer have diabetes."
No, you do.
No, you do. But someone can no longer be hypertensive.
Right.
So all of that stuff, and it's like they're just not looking at the big picture because they're just looking at the cost now. Which, yes, it's expensive, but at the same time, if people aren't struggling with, again, obesity-related issues, they're not going to miss work, right? They're not going to have
Right.
inpatient stays because maybe they've hurt their back or they, have a diabetic ulcer or whatever it is. So I don't know. I mean,
Or their
there's
mental state is,
yeah,
is
absolutely.
better, right? If they're gaining weight, it's a lot. I know that goes hand in hand with that depression, and all of that.
For sure. So, I mean, this is just something that we're going to continue to see, and I think what I really want to hone in on is we just have to be there to support them.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to understand that we're not just here to, write you a prescription. It's a whole deal, it's emotional support. It's, the physical support, telling, getting them ideas, giving them ideas on exercise and that accountability of checking in with us. All of that plays such a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you out there that their employer has recently discontinued, just know that, it may seem real difficult now, but it is going to get better.
And know that people are out there that have your back and are trying to fight for this and are trying to push for this medication and are trying to push for what in my own opinion, what feels idiotic to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some programs, some hospital organizations now make the change where people on Zepbound, for one, and again, this is not from Novo Nordisk, Lilly, the makers of Zepbound. This is this is not something they put out there. Made their employees who were on these medications, now, if your BMI was not at a 40 at the time that you started the medication, could have been on it 6 months ago when you started it. If your BMI was not 40 at that time, you could no longer get the medication.
Yeah.
Even though you might have had a BMI of 32 and you started the medication, but you were never at a 40. Now or when you started, so now they're going to discontinue it.
Yeah, they make the requirements.
And I've had to go through the peer reviews and the whole this and all of that and get them. And I've gotten them.
Have you gotten them? I have a couple
I've
times
gotten a
as
few
well.
of them too. I'm like,
Right.
I discussed where the BMI was, where they are, the blah, blah, this and that, that the treatments, the comorbidities, yada, yada. And again, I wasn't talking to the person that answered the phone at XYZ Insurance. I was in a peer review with another medical professional or someone. It wasn't any, this is Peggy off the street.
I was wondering if, again, some of that is because all of the also peer reviews that I've done on that type of situation, they also have been approved, but it takes a lot of man hours to do it. So I'm wondering if they're just hoping that no one's going to fight it.
Right. Yeah.
Because even though that's happened.
And they're like, oh, here's Amy again. Put a little check mark next to her name so if she calls, don't transfer her to me.
Absolutely. But you know what? That's what
Ben's going to call shortly too. Put an X by his name.
That's what we do for our patients, right?
Because we're here to support you, right? I would tell people, you're not coming here. We're not going to yell at you and chastise you.
I mean,
well, you're not going to yell.
No,
you're not going to yell. We're here to support. I may be like, girl, step it up. What the hell's going on? But I mean, I'm not going to, the world chastises all of us for being overweight or XYZ too much. You don't have to come to see me and be scared that I'm going to be the same.
Right. I always say, it's not like you're going to the principal's office. Like, no, I don't yell at anybody, but like you said, sometimes.
Is that true, Producer Mike?
What should I say?
Oh, anyway.
Mike.
Answered the question right there.
I think. Oh boy!
Oh, wow!
Him and
that was magical.
sounds.
Crickets all at one time.
Yeah. I mean, my patients know. Yes, they're not going to get in trouble, but there is some tough love once in a while.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
We're
you
not.
said.
Yeah.
But
like Dr. Now.
Oh,
not that tough love.
I don't think that would go well at all.
No.
But I will.
He's entertaining to watch.
He's very entertaining to watch.
You're not starving. You eat enough food for the last 5 months.
He was having an open house this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, down in Houston.
Oh.
At his his place. He's still practicing. He's like 80 something years old. He has a new show out now. It's called Mike, do you remember what I was talking to you? It was like the 6,000 pound journal or diaries. It follows like 10 patients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he also does cameos.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Note for self. Merry Christmas, Amy.
I know. So I was watching a couple of them. So, I mean, his tact, he doesn't have it. But to me,
and they all know what they're signing up for. They're on that show. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But there has to be some tough love, like you said, right? I have these tough loves, and I tell them, I tell my patients when I have those, and when I'm, I'll say it, and we'll discuss it, and then I'll say, the come to Jesus moment is over. Now we're going to move forward, or whatever. And I will tell you, 9 times out of 10, they're very. We laugh about it, and they're receptive, or whatever.
I think once they know us, they expect. Some will even come in and tattle on themselves, from the start, because they know that. I always tell them, like, you can't kid a kidder. Yeah. Like, I know what you're doing or what you're not doing. So they're like, yeah, you're right. So the rapport is amazing, I feel like. Oh, yeah. So that makes me want to go to work every day. I mean, honestly, I still love what I do. I still love helping people. Me too. These situations with insurance, that's what ruins my day.
Me off.
Yep, absolutely.
So, because I feel like you're pulling the rug out of under someone that's being successful or is really.
You can't treat them like you can't treat them, their chronic disease, the way they should be treated, and because you have that hold up with the insurance, they're dictating how we practice.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I always say they're not dicking around with the cardiologist saying you can't do that. They're not dictating the people in endo or some in endo, yes, I guess. But they're not pulling the cardiac meds. They're not pulling the neuro meds. They're not playing all that BS games. Why are you doing it with people that are chronically obese? Because like you said, they're not considered obesity as a chronic disease, even though it is.
Even though it is. 2012 or 13 is when it was classified as a chronic disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, even maybe with the cardiometabolic clinics that are becoming more popular, that's like all of the, diabetes, cardiac problems, obesity, and these people get treated for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with that, it's going to help. I'm hoping a little bit more with coverage and such, but time will tell, right?
Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, Amy, I think it's a wrap for episode 11.
I think it is. If anyone has any comments or feedback, gone through this, let us know.
Yeah.
Again, we may not be your provider, but we're here to support you as well and give any advice if we can, right?
Yeah. We're here to give advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you guys have a wonderful week, and we will be back next time for another episode
Of
The Heavy Truth.
Bye.
Bye.